Okay, in this lecture, I'm going to cover the network policies. So, network policies is a very good feature, another good feature of Kubernetes because it restricts access to the services and to pods based on IPs, based on namespaces, and based on even the pod labels. So basically, it's a very good security feature because you can restrict, like for example, in my example, what I'm going to show is the nodes are not important, right? I'm just showing here, but the pods can run on any node because that's controlled by the orchestrator, which is Kubernetes. We don't control like which pod runs on which worker, but I just showed here. So I will run a pod with the label app is equal to web. It can be just a sample nginx pod, and then I will have two replicas with label. It'll be a deployment, and I'll make a service and expose it on a port, and both of them, the pods for the service will have label app equal to db. So I only want my app web pods to reach the db pods. That's it. So no other, and this is all in default namespace. I'm not using the namespace selector for now. So what it will show is basically what we have to do is first create all the service and the pods and then create a network policy. So the network policy will have the details on which pods it's applicable. So that will be by the by the pod selector. So if the network policy is applicable to app is equal to db label pods, and what it will specify is that allowing ingress only from, that means the ingress accessor should only be allowed for anything where the pod label matches app equal to web. So in the test, we'll see that then I can exec into the pod app equal to web, and I'm going to see if I reach to the service, if I should be able to hit the endpoint. And then I can come out of it and exec into another pod, like the test pod, which doesn't have the label. And the network policy should restrict that access to the backend app DB pod. So we will test this out. But to try this, the flannel should be working um, perfectly. Otherwise, the network policies do not work. So hopefully that's working, and we'll see this. Okay, so let me show you what we were talking about. The network policy. I have these YAMLs, and I'll be uploading to my Inatech Git account, and I will share the link after the video. So let's look at the part. So let's look at the network policy. I'm calling it dash back. Okay, so what this is, it's a deployment, and it's about deploying two replicas, and the labels are app db, and it's just running nginx. We could run a mysql or anything, but basically it's just for testing, right? So and then there is a service, np-service. So this is a service that will expose the endpoint for the deployment, and this has the same label app equal to db. So the service will select the pods which have the label of app equal to db. This is the back end. And what about the front end? So in the front end we have client. So the client is a web, it's a BusyBox pod, and it will have a label of app equal to web. So we have an app equal to web pod, and we'll have two pods for the database. Now, what is the network policy? The network policy is simple one. This one I just created a simple one to understand and make sure that it's not very complicated. So what it does, it is in a default namespace, and it will select the pods which have the label app equal to db. So this policy is only applicable to those group of pods. The policy type is ingress, which means it will only look at the ingress traffic coming to those pods, and it says ingress from pod selector match label app web, which means that only the pod that has a label of app web will be able to reach the database, the pods which are app db. That's it. It's as simple as that. So I will first start with creating the backend. It creates the deployment, then I'll create the service. Okay, so I will do get, we can do get svc. we'll do get pods minus L. Let's see the label app equal to, we had DB. So we have two pods running. Now I will apply the front end client. It will create a front pod equal to web. It's running. And did we apply the, no, now we'll apply the network policy. So network policy is created. Let's see what it is. Get network policy. We have only one network policy which is applicable to the pods which have a label of app equal to DB. You can also do a describe on this one to see what more about it. It's the same thing what we created. So it's basically only allowing ingress traffic to the pods which have a label of app.db, but it's only allowing from pods which have a label of app equal to web. So now, so we have a web pod. So let me exec into the web pod. And I should be able to curl to the endpoint. So let me again get this endpoint. So I should be able to curl to the endpoint for DB service IP from inside the web pod, because that's the only place where it's allowed. I'm going to go in the web pod. Okay, exact right now I'm going to do a curl HTTP because it's a port 8010 dot, the service is at 107.232.77. It's on port 80. That's the Nginx service that's running in there. So that policy is only allowing the ingress traffic going on to the DB from the web pod. So that's what the network policies can control access to the path. They can also control based on the IP blocks. They can also control it based on the namespaces, and but that's how the whole that's how the network policies work.